Have you ever, like, picked up your phone, seen an unknown number, answered it in the second language, and just secretly wished it had been a text message?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You hear that voice on the other end, and the connection is maybe, slightly muffled, and suddenly your mind just goes completely blank.
It's a very specific, universal kind of panic. I mean, suddenly all the vocabulary you spent years memorizing just vanishes into thin air.
Yes, exactly. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a stack of practical guides actually written for A2 to B1 English learners. But honestly, they reveal this secret code that native speakers use without even realizing it.
They really do.
Yeah, we're breaking down the psychology of the real-life phone conversation. We're going to decode the natural expressions native speakers use, look at the unwritten rules of phone etiquette, and, kind of show you why projecting confidence matters infinitely more than having flawless grammar.
Because the rules completely change the moment you pick up a phone. I mean, talking on a voice call requires an entirely different toolkit than, say, sitting across a table from someone at a coffee shop.
It really is like flying blind. Think about a normal face-to-face conversation. If you don't understand a word, or if you kind of stumble over your grammar, you have this massive visual safety net, right?
Right, yeah.
You can use body language, hand gestures, facial expressions. I mean, you can literally just point at things.
Yeah, exactly.
But on a voice call, that entire safety net is just ripped away. You're completely dependent on tone of voice and very specific phrasing.
Yeah, when you remove that visual context, the mechanics of the interaction have to carry all the weight. You're forced to rely heavily on active listening. You have to know how to navigate technical glitches gracefully, and above all, you really have to master polite, indirect phrasing.
Right, because without a smile to soften your words, a direct statement in English can accidentally sound like incredibly hostile.
Oh, 100%.
And the stakes are the highest in the very first few seconds, I think. How you initiate or receive a call establishes a baseline for everything that follows. We're talking about that crucial first impression.
The make or break moment.
Totally. And the sources we're looking at today highlight a fantastic story about an English learner who answered every single phone call by simply picking up the receiver and saying yes.
Oh, wow. I can feel the tension that would cause just hearing you describe it.
Right.
To a native English speaker on the other end of the line, that single word creates this immediate discomfort.
But look at it from the learner's perspective for a second. It makes complete logical sense.
Sure.
They are answering the device, confirming they're physically present,
Yeah.
and acknowledging the caller. So why does a simple yes crash and burn so spectacularly in English phone culture?
Well, because it violates the unwritten social contract of the phone call.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So when an English speaker initiates a call, they are expecting a specific rhythm, right? A welcoming opening. And yes, just derails that rhythm because it sounds impatient.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, without any visual cues to show you're actually happy to hear from them, yes. So it sounds like you were saying, you've interrupted me, what do you want?
Wow, yeah, it's so blunt. So the polite alternative, according to the guides, involves offering information first or gently requesting it.
Exact.
You answer with something like, hello, this is Alex speaking, offering your identity right off the bat. Or if you need to know who's calling, you use polite inquiry like, who's calling, please? Or, may I ask who's calling?
Right. Notice the padding there. You aren't just extracting information from them.
Right.
You're wrapping the request in this layer of social pleasantry.
Which is so important. But initiating a call, though, flips that dynamic entirely, doesn't it?
It does. Because now you aren't just reacting. You are the one interrupting someone else's day.
Right, so the materials highlight specific phrases for this side of it, too. Things like, I'd like to speak to, or is Sarah available? And could you put me through, please?
Yeah, those are pretty much non-negotiable foundations for a business or formal call.
But wait, I want to challenge this emphasis on padding and pleasantries for a second.
Okay.
Because in a lot of cultures, like, say, in German or Russian business environments, asking, who is this? Or telling someone to wait is perfectly polite because it's efficient.
Right.
It respects the other person's time. So why does English demand this extra layer of fluff? Isn't all this indirectness just a massive waste of time?
Well, that is the eternal struggle of translating culture, right? Not just vocabulary.
Yeah, true.
You're touching on the difference between high context and low context communication styles, combined with English's absolute obsession with negative face.
A negative face.
Yeah, it's a sociological term. It basically means the desire not to be imposed upon.
Oh, interesting.
So in English etiquette, efficiency does not equal politeness. Who are you? Is grammatically flawless, sure. But culturally, it's an interrogation.
Right. It feels like a police officer shining a flashlight in your eyes.
Exactly. So the grammar isn't the problem. The perceived aggression is.
Ah, got it.
And actually, precise grammar can sometimes make it sound more aggressive. When you change "who are you" to "may I ask who's calling," hey, you are doing something very specific. You're using a modal verb. Words like may, could, or would.
Okay, give me an ELI 5 on that. Explain it like I'm 5. What is the actual function of a modal verb in this context?
So think of modal verbs as linguistic bubble wrap.
Linguistic bubble wrap, I love that.
Yeah, you wrap your command in them so it doesn't bruise the other person's ego. When you say, "may I ask," you are giving the other person the illusion of a choice.
The illusion.
Right, you're pretending they have the option to say no, even though you both know they have to identify themselves to continue the call.
Wow, okay. And I guess that explains the issue with the word wait, because I hear non-native speakers use wait constantly on the phone. It is efficient, but in English, wait is just a naked command.
Yes, you are issuing an order to a stranger. And if we look at customer service or business dynamics, giving a command to someone you don't know is a severe breach of protocol.
Right, you just don't do it.
No, so we apply our linguistic bubble wrap. We turn the command into a request for a favor. Could you hold on for a moment, please?
Ah, okay. So we've established the polite initiation. You've wrapped your requests in bubble wrap.
Huh.
But eventually, the real world intrudes, right?
As it always does.
The line gets staticky. A siren wails in the background, or the native speaker on the other end just starts talking at 200 words a minute.
The communication breakdown.
Exactly.
This is the moment where confidence usually just evaporates for learners.
Yeah, and the sources illustrate this with a really painful mini story. A traveler is on a crucial business call, and every time the audio drops or he misses a word, he just shouts, "What?" into the phone. Just over and over like, What?
Oh man, the panic response.
It totally is. It's like hitting a broken button on a vending machine.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. You put your coin in, press the button, and the candy bar doesn't fall. But instead of finding a different solution, you just keep smashing the same broken button harder and louder.
Yeah.
Saying, "What?" repeatedly doesn't repair the comprehension gap. It just broadcasts your frustration to the other person.
And you know, the tragic part of that story is that the traveler likely thought asking for repetition meant he was failing at English. He was probably really embarrassed.
Oh, for sure.
But the reality is the exact opposite. Confidently managing a misunderstanding or a bad connection is actually a marker of high-level fluency.
Wait, really?
Yeah. It proves you are actively managing the flow of conversation rather than just passively surviving it.
That is such a good reframe. Okay, so how do we fix the broken vending machine politely? What is the toolkit for pausing the chaos?
Well, you need phrases that explicitly state the problem without assigning blame or sounding angry. Instead of a blunt "what?", you deploy something like, "Could you repeat that, please?"
Right.
Or one of the most natural phrases in the native speaker arsenal, "Sorry, I didn't catch that."
I didn't catch that. It's such a great visual metaphor. It sounds like you were playing baseball, someone tossed you the ball, and it just slipped past your glove.
Exactly.
It's casual, it's friendly, and it completely removes the tension.
It frames the misunderstanding as a tiny, harmless accident. And, you know, if the issue isn't the connection but the speed of the speaker, you apply those modal verbs again.
The bubble wrap.
The bubble wrap. You say, "Could you speak a little more slowly?" Notice we don't say "speak slower."
Because that brings us right back to issuing commands.
Exactly. You want to avoid commands at all costs.
There is a detail in the sources regarding bad audio quality that actually feels like a cheat code for language learners.
Mm-hmm.
It is entirely about how you frame the failure. The guides point out that saying "I cannot hear you" is actually a trap.
A huge psychological trap, yes. When you say "I cannot hear you," you are centering the failure on yourself.
Right.
You're telling the other person that your physical ability to comprehend them is failing. And in a second language, that makes the learner feel incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
But native speakers completely bypass that vulnerability by shifting the blame to the technology.
Yes.
They say things like, you're breaking up, or the connection is bad.
Right, because by saying you're breaking up, you introduce a third party into the mix.
Right, the tech.
The cell network, the software, the phone itself, and you blame that third party for ruining the call for both of you. It's not your fault you are struggling to understand, and it's not their fault they aren't speaking clearly. It's the technology's fault.
That is so smart. It's a brilliant face-saving maneuver for everyone involved.
It really is.
It takes all the pressure off. You aren't failing at English. A cell tower somewhere is failing at its job.
Exactly. You maintain your confidence and you just keep the interaction moving.
Okay, so surviving the bad connection and delivering your message is only half the battle, though.
Yeah.
Because once the business is concluded, you face what might be the trickiest maneuver of the entire call.
The exit strategy.
Yes. You cannot just hang up the phone when you finish your sentence.
Right. The verbal off-ramp.
The verbal off-ramp,
Yeah.
exactly. And the materials highlight a very common and honestly very funny mistake learners make when trying to initiate this off-ramp. They announce the end of the conversation by saying, I'm finishing the phone.
I'm finishing the phone.
Yeah.
Which paints this vivid picture of someone literally eating their mobile device and wiping their mouth with a napkin.
Such a funny image.
Yeah.
Why do so many learners fall into that specific linguistic trap, though?
Well, it usually stems from a direct translation issue, particularly for speakers of Romance languages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In languages like Spanish, French, or Italian, verbs denoting completion, like terminar or finir, they're applied much more broadly. They can mean finishing a task, ending a conversation, or completing the use of an object.
Right, right.
So the learner translates the concept of ending the use of the telephone device directly into English. But in English, finishing an object implies consuming it or completing its physical construction.
Yeah, like you built a phone from scratch and you just put the last screw in.
Exactly.
So to avoid sounding like you are digesting your iPhone, native speakers use a very specific phrase. And the psychology behind this phrase is fascinating. The phrase is, I'll let you go.
Yes, it is the ultimate hostage negotiation tactic of polite society.
It really is. Think about the mechanics of what you're doing. You are the one who wants to hang up.
Hey.
You are the one who wants to move on to your next task.
Right.
But by saying, I'll let you go, you perform this incredible psychological flip where you frame your own desire to leave as a massive favor to the other person.
You're projecting the assumption that their time is incredibly valuable.
Yes.
You are implying, I know you are a busy, important person, and I have monopolized enough of your day, so I will graciously release you back into the wild.
It's so manipulative, but so polite.
It is. It allows you to terminate the interaction while simultaneously complimenting their status.
A masterpiece of social maneuvering. And you have to pair I'll let you go with the rest of the closing ritual, right?
Yes, definitely.
You follow it up with things like, thanks for calling, or I'll talk to you later, or have a great day.
Yeah, ending a call without that ritual is a severe faux pas. If you just say your final piece of information and click the button, the person on the other end is going to stare at their screen in total confusion.
Right. They'll be like, did they hang up on me?
Exactly. They won't know if the call dropped, if you are furious with them, or if there was an emergency. The closing phrases signal that the communication is safely winding down.
Well, while we're on the topic of the closing ritual, let's pull a quick scenario straight from the source material to test you, the listener.
Okay, a little quiz.
Yeah. Imagine you are wrapping up a call, and the person says to you, I'll call you back. Does that mean A, they're attempting to dial your number right now simultaneously, or B, they will phone you again at some point in the future?
The classic callback confusion. The answer is B. Callback implies a return action, usually after a delay.
Perfect. Which transitions us really nicely into seeing how all these distinct elements operate together. We've talked about the polite initiation, the bubble wrap of modal verbs, blaming the tech, and the psychological flip of the graceful exit.
Let's put it all together.
Yeah, let's trace the anatomy of a practical role play to see the power dynamics in action.
Okay, so here's a classic scenario from the guides. A customer calling a clinic or a business receptionist to ask about an appointment.
Right. Now, this isn't just an exchange of information. It's really a negotiation of access. The receptionist is the gatekeeper here.
Exactly. And the caller starts not with a blunt yes, but with the polite offering of identity. Hello, this is Alex.
The caller is establishing their presence. Then they have to ask the gatekeeper for access. This is where those modal verbs do the heavy lifting, right?
Yes. They say, Could you put me through to the scheduling department, please? The caller is asserting their need, but wrapping it in deference to the receptionist's authority.
The bubble wrap again.
Always the bubble wrap.
And the receptionist responds in kind. They don't bark, wait. They maintain the polite professional boundary. They say, could you hold on a moment?
Right. They're controlling the flow of the interaction without causing offense. And if the scheduling department isn't available, the receptionist controls the next step. Can I take a message?
And finally, the caller accepts the boundary and initiates the off-ramp. Thanks for your help. Have a great day.
It is a delicate dance of mutual respect, entirely facilitated by these very specific phrases.
It really is. Now, you'll notice in that short exchange, we used several phrasal verbs. Put me through. Hold on. Take a message. If there is one hurdle that trips up learners on the phone more than anything else, is the density of phrasal verbs.
Oh, without a doubt. It's the #1 complaint.
Let's demystify them, because learning them is just like a memorized list is agonizing.
It's the worst.
Why does phone English rely so heavily on these strange combinations of verbs and directional prepositions like up, down, off, through?
So, the secret to understanding phone phrasal verbs is to realize they are literal descriptions of 19th and early 20th century technology.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they aren't random at all. They are historical artifacts.
Okay, let's break that down. Take hang up, meaning to end the call.
Okay, so think about the really early telephones. The microphone was on a stand, and the earpiece was a completely separate cylinder on a cord.
Like in old movies.
Exactly. So when you finished the conversation, you physically had to hang the earpiece back up onto a metal hook on the side of the device to break the electrical circuit.
You were literally hanging it up.
Literally hanging it up.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, what about pick up for answering?
The exact reverse. You are physically lifting the earpiece off the hook to open the circuit.
That is so cool. Okay, we mentioned put through in the role play, meaning to connect a caller to another person.
Right. So before automatic routing, every call went to a human operator at a massive switchboard.
Oh, with all the cables and plugs.
Yeah, those giant boards. So if you wanted to talk to the scheduling department, the operator had to take a physical wire and plug it into a specific jack.
Wow.
They were literally putting your electrical signal through the board to the correct destination.
So cool. Which leads directly to my favorite one, cutoff. Like when the connection fails or drops, we say we got cut off.
Because if the operator accidentally pulled your wire out of the switchboard, or if a physical line went down outside in a storm, your connection was quite literally severed. It was cut.
Man, understanding the physical history of those words changes everything. You aren't just memorizing abstract grammar anymore. You are referencing the ghosts of old technology.
It totally anchors the vocabulary in reality, making it infinitely easier to remember for learners.
Absolutely. Now, the guides also offer a few advanced fluency upgrades, these tiny tweaks that elevate your speech from intermediate to natural. Like instead of saying, call me again, which sounds demanding and honestly a bit repetitive.
Yeah, it sounds a little pushy.
Right. You use the phrasal verb, call me back.
And when stating the purpose of your call, avoid saying, I'm calling for information.
Oh, why is that bad?
It's grammatically fine, but it just sounds stiff. It sounds like a robot demanding data.
Like, give me information.
Exactly.
So the natural upgrade is, I'm calling to ask about.
Right. I'm calling to ask about your opening hours, or I'm calling to ask about my appointment. It softens the approach. It signals that you want a dialogue, not a transaction.
That's a great tip. And the underlying theme across all of these sources, the real shortcut to being well-informed about phone communication, is that fluency isn't about perfection.
Not at all. It is about control and consideration. I mean, if you master the polite openings, ditching yes and who are you for this is name and may I ask who's calling, you immediately establish goodwill.
And you navigate the technical chaos by refusing to smash the what button on the broken vending machine. You shift the blame to the cell towers and use your toolkit to ask for repetition nicely.
Right. And you orchestrate a clean exit by phrasing your departure as a favor to their busy schedule.
You just do not need perfect English grammar to have a highly successful professional phone conversation.
You really don't. The people who communicate best aren't the ones who never stumble over a verb tense.
Right.
They are the ones who use polite, natural expressions to confidently manage the bumps in the road. Confidence, wrapped in a little linguistic bubble wrap, will carry you through almost any interaction.
Linguistic bubble wrap. I love that. Which brings us to a final thought for you to mull over. We have spent this entire deep dive decoding the subtle, unwritten rules of the traditional voice-only phone call. The blind call, as we said.
Right.
But the landscape of communication is changing so rapidly.
Dramatically so.
Yeah, we operate constantly on video calls now, where the visual safety net has been returned to us. We can see facial expressions, we can read the room.
You have that visual context back.
Exactly. And conversely, we rely heavily on text-based messaging like Slack, WhatsApp, email, where we have the luxury of time to draft, edit, and perfectly translate our thoughts before anyone ever even sees them.
Yeah, the environment that requires these specific on-the-spot survival skills is shrinking.
It is. So the question is, as technology continues to evolve, will the art of polite indirectness, the tech-blaming phrases, and the carefully choreographed voice-only exit eventually become obsolete?
Oh, that's a good question.
Will they fade away just like the physical switchboards that gave us our phrasal verbs? Or will the traditional unscripted voice call always remain the ultimate undeniable test of a language learner's true confidence simply because there is nowhere to hide?
I think it forces a level of presence and immediate linguistic agility that text and video simply don't demand in the same way.
Yeah, I agree. So think about your own habits. Do you prefer phone calls, video calls, or text messages? And more importantly, why? Notice how drastically your preference shifts when you are forced to operate in a language that isn't your mother tongue.
The medium really dictates the pressure.
It absolutely does.
Ah,
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of the English phone conversation. Hopefully, the next time your screen lights up with an unknown number, you won't freeze.
right.
You'll know how to pick up the receiver, wrap your words in bubble wrap, and confidently manage whatever comes next. We'll catch you on the next one.